Yes, it is generally permissible to have a bathroom ground fault circuit interrupter and 3 exterior ground fault circuit interrupters on the same circuit. However, it is crucial to adhere to the National Electrical Code, or NEC, and any local amendments that may apply in your specific location. These codes provide detailed guidelines on electrical installations to ensure safety and prevent hazard. The NEC addresses the requirements for ground fault circuit interrupter protection in specific areas, including bathrooms and outdoor locations. These requirements are primarily outlined in Article 210.8 of the NEC, which specifies where ground fault circuit interrupter protection is mandatory. Generally, ground fault circuit interrupter protection is required for receptacles located in bathrooms, garages, and outdoors where there is direct grade level access. The purpose of ground fault circuit interrupters is to protect individuals from electrical shock hazards. They work by monitoring the current flowing through a circuit. If there is an imbalance, indicating that current is leaking to ground, the ground fault circuit interrupter will trip, quickly cutting off power to the circuit. This rapid response is critical in preventing serious injury or death. When installing multiple ground fault circuit interrupters on the same circuit, it is essential to consider the potential for nuisance tripping. A ground fault circuit interrupter will trip if it detects a ground fault, regardless of where the fault originates on the circuit. If multiple ground fault circuit interrupters are connected to the same circuit, a ground fault anywhere on the circuit could cause one or more of the ground fault circuit interrupters to trip. To minimize nuisance tripping, it is important to ensure that all wiring is properly installed and that there are no underlying ground faults in the system. This includes carefully checking all connections, ensuring that conductors are not damaged, and verifying that all equipment is properly grounded. Furthermore, it is advisable to use high-quality ground fault circuit interrupters from reputable manufacturers. These devices are more likely to be reliable and less prone to false tripping. In addition to the NEC requirements for ground fault circuit interrupter protection, it is also important to consider the overall load in the circuit. The NEC specifies the maximum allowable load for a given circuit based on the wire size and the overcurrent protection device, such as a circuit breaker. It is crucial to ensure that the total load of all devices connected to the circuit, including the bathroom ground fault circuit interrupter and the 3 exterior ground fault circuit interrupters, does not exceed the circuit's capacity. Overloading a circuit can lead to overheating, which can create a fire hazard. To determine the appropriate circuit size for the application, it is necessary to calculate the total load. This involves adding up the current draw of all devices that will be connected to the circuit. For receptacles, the NEC requires that a certain amount of volt amps be allocated for each receptacle, regardless of whether anything is actually plugged into it. This is to account for the possibility that the receptacle may be used to power a load in the future. Once the total load has been calculated, it can be compared to the circuit's capacity. The circuit capacity is determined by the ampacity of the wire and the rating of the circuit breaker. The NEC provides tables that list the ampacity of different wire sizes based on their insulation type and installation conditions. It is important to select a wire size that is appropriate for the load and the installation conditions. The circuit breaker must also be sized appropriately to protect the wire from overcurrent. The NEC specifies the maximum allowable overcurrent protection for different wire sizes. In addition to the load calculation and wire sizing considerations, it is also important to ensure that the circuit is properly grounded. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, which helps to trip the circuit breaker and prevent electrical shock hazards. The NEC requires that all electrical equipment be grounded in accordance with specific requirements. These requirements vary depending on the type of equipment and the installation conditions. Generally, grounding involves connecting the metal enclosure of the equipment to a grounding electrode, such as a ground rod or a metal water pipe. This connection provides a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source. In summary, while it is generally permissible to have a bathroom ground fault circuit interrupter and 3 exterior ground fault circuit interrupters on the same circuit, it is essential to carefully consider the NEC requirements, the potential for nuisance tripping, the overall load on the circuit, and the grounding requirements. It is always advisable to consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that the installation is safe and compliant with all applicable codes and regulations. Local codes may impose additional restrictions or requirements beyond those specified in the NEC. These local codes are often based on the NEC but may be modified to address specific local conditions or concerns. It is the responsibility of the installer to be aware of and comply with all applicable codes and regulations. Furthermore, the specific requirements for ground fault circuit interrupter protection may vary depending on the type of occupancy. For example, the requirements for residential occupancies may be different from those for commercial or industrial occupancies. The NEC provides detailed guidance on the requirements for different types of occupancies. When installing ground fault circuit interrupters, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. These instructions provide specific guidance on the proper installation and testing of the devices. Failure to follow the manufacturer's instructions can result in improper operation or failure of the ground fault circuit interrupter, which can compromise safety. After installing a ground fault circuit interrupter, it is essential to test it to ensure that it is functioning properly. Ground fault circuit interrupters have a test button that can be used to simulate a ground fault. When the test button is pressed, the ground fault circuit interrupter should trip, cutting off power to the circuit. If the ground fault circuit interrupter does not trip when the test button is pressed, it is likely defective and should be replaced. Regular testing of ground fault circuit interrupters is recommended to ensure that they are functioning properly. The NEC recommends testing ground fault circuit interrupters at least once a month. This can be done by pressing the test button and verifying that the device trips. If a ground fault circuit interrupter trips frequently, it may indicate a problem with the wiring or the equipment connected to the circuit. In this case, it is advisable to consult with a qualified electrician to investigate the cause of the tripping and make any necessary repairs. Ground fault circuit interrupters are an important safety device that can help to prevent electrical shock hazards. By understanding how they work and following the proper installation and testing procedures, individuals can ensure that their electrical systems are safe and compliant with all applicable codes and regulations. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it is always best to consult with a qualified electrician if you are not comfortable performing the work yourself. A qualified electrician has the knowledge, skills, and experience to perform electrical work safely and in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations. They can also help you to identify and correct any potential electrical hazards in your home or business. The NEC is a comprehensive document that covers a wide range of electrical topics. It is updated every 3 years to reflect changes in technology and best practices. It is important for anyone involved in electrical work to stay up to date on the latest version of the NEC. The NEC is available for purchase from the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, and other sources. It is also available online through various subscription services. In addition to the NEC, there are other standards and guidelines that may be relevant to electrical installations. These include standards from organizations such as the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, or IEEE, and the American National Standards Institute, or ANSI. It is important to be aware of and comply with all applicable standards and guidelines. Electrical safety is a critical concern, and it is essential to take all necessary precautions to prevent electrical accidents. This includes following the proper installation and testing procedures for ground fault circuit interrupters, as well as being aware of and complying with all applicable codes and regulations. By taking these precautions, individuals can help to ensure that their electrical systems are safe and reliable. Finally, consider the specific loads that will be connected to the ground fault circuit interrupters. If any of the loads are particularly sensitive to voltage fluctuations or power interruptions, it may be advisable to install them on a separate circuit. This can help to prevent nuisance tripping and ensure that the loads operate reliably. In addition to ground fault circuit interrupters, there are other types of safety devices that can be used to protect against electrical hazards. These include arc fault circuit interrupters, or RFIs, and surge protective devices, or SPDs. Arc fault circuit interrupters are designed to protect against fires caused by electrical arcs. Surge protective devices are designed to protect against damage caused by voltage surges. These devices can be used in conjunction with ground fault circuit interrupters to provide comprehensive electrical protection. When selecting electrical equipment, it is important to choose products that are listed by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories, or al., or Intertek, or et al. These testing laboratories evaluate products to ensure that they meet safety standards. Products that are listed by a recognized testing laboratory will have a listing mark on them. This mark indicates that the product has been tested and found to be safe for its intended use. In conclusion, while it is generally permissible to have a bathroom ground fault circuit interrupter and 3 exterior ground fault circuit interrupters on the same circuit, it is essential to carefully consider all applicable codes and regulations, as well as the potential for nuisance tripping and the overall load on the circuit. It is always advisable to consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that the installation is safe and compliant with all applicable requirements. Remember that electrical safety is a critical concern, and it is essential to take all necessary precautions to prevent electrical accidents. Ensure the circuit is adequately rated for the combined load and that all wiring is properly grounded. Consider using a multi-wire branch circuit to help balance the load. Always consult local electrical codes and a qualified electrician for guidance. Ground fault circuit interrupters are designed to protect people from electrical shock, so it's crucial to install and maintain them correctly.